We're back to the Neil Haley Show. And, my guest today is from Being the Ricardos. We're going to talk about his career and everything. Jeff Holman. Jeff, thanks for stopping by, man. And we're going to talk about your career and all these different things, but ultimately Being the Ricardos, which I watched, and I don't always get to say I've watched shows because I'm just a busy guy. I got all these interviews, watching different streams, and it was just a great, great production. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I've
You're
seen some
welcome.
of your interviews, and man, you're terrific. I really like your questions and the rapport that you have with your guests. I was really looking forward to coming on here.
Well, I greatly appreciate that. And it's just from doing it too long. It's from doing it. Anything you do 10,000 hours, done 7,000 plus interviews. It's interesting. I'm moving my one house that I house, one of my podcasts, out of that place. And there's like 12 years of it. And it's like, and I only can transfer a certain amount. I'm like, I hope I have all these files and I have them
Oh,
somewhere in different things. But I'm really going more big into the TV end of things because ultimately, at the end of the day, to get to see yourself with the celebrity on video is much more powerful. And I'm sure you pick those to watch versus listening to an interview I did 7 years ago. So it's just all about it. And I'll be doing a lot of downloading this weekend. So let's jump specifically to you. Did you always want to be an actor? Was that something growing up you wanted to do?
you know what? Yeah, I started real young. I started in first grade. We did a production of Noah Builds an Ark, and every kid in the class had to do a paper mache animal. And although I'm really into arts, not so much into crafts. So I was like, oh gosh, does everyone have to do paper mache? And they're like, well, Noah doesn't. And I'm like, I want to be Noah.
You're there. You're there. I'm going to be, that's great. Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? I'm the only person who wants to be Noah? Well, as it turns out, Noah has to sing a song in front of the entire school and all the parents. I was like, singing, paper mache. Let's go with singing. And I'm not a singer per se. So I thought that I'd be just completely terrified, but some kind of little spark ignited when I was out there singing my little song. It was, oh, Noah built himself an ark, one wide river to cross. He built it out of hickory bark, one wide river to cross. So like this song goes on and like the kids are going back there and I don't know, something happened. Some flame ignited inside me and I was just like, okay, I
At
like
first
this.
grade, you figured it out. That's pretty
I
good.
want to do this forever.
You figured it out in first grade and you want to do it forever. So what would you consider your big break? When did you decide I'm going to Hollywood, or the whole process?
You know what? I think that it was in high school. I had always wanted to be an actor, but it was sort of like, yeah, it's a pie in the sky thing, got to think of something more practical. And then my high school theater teacher cast me as the lead in this play, Dark of the Moon. Her name's Michelle Busty. And she just gave me so much confidence as casting me as the lead in that I was like, you know what? Maybe I'd be able to do this as a living, And so when I went to school, my college, my dad was like, okay, we all know you can act. You don't need to go to learn how to act. So if I'm paying for school, you're gonna have to study something more like serious,
Okay.
science based.
Yeah.
He's a chemistry and math double major, and he's a doctor. So he's like, no, yet be more practical. I'm like, okay. So I chose marine science. Ooh.
Okay.
And once I graduated from that, I came home with my science degree, and I was like, okay, time to get back to acting. And
Yeah. Did you act in school? Like when you're in college, did you do any acting?
no, and in fact, I auditioned for the school play in my freshman year, booked the lead, and then they found out that I was a freshman. They're like, "Oh, we've got this rule: no freshman can participate in plays because it's just so busy as a freshman." And I'm like, "Forget this, then. Forget it. I'm out of here." So I just never went back to the theater the whole time I was in college. Um, so I think when I graduated, I really wanted to get back to acting, and so I did non-union commercials and films in Denver, and getting ready to make my big move to LA. So finally got out here to LA, and I'd say another big break I had was getting my SAG card. Um, in order to get your SAG card as an extra, you have to do like 3 extra jobs where like a union extra didn't show up, and so
Okay.
you can get one of their vouchers. It's kind of difficult to do. The other way is you get a speaking role in a movie or a TV show, and then they do what's called a Taft-Hartley, where they basically pay a penalty to use you, and then you get into the union. So that was a huge lucky break that I got into the union. That was in '99, and just been going at it ever since.
See, that's a great thing for sure. And when you think about specifically opportunities and stuff, what do you think you're best known for of some of the projects you've done before talking about being the Ricardos?
I'd say Grey's Anatomy was
Okay,
one of the big ones. I still get recognized on that sometimes.
that's cool.
I had this scene with Sandra Oh where I'm getting angioplasty, and I remember the audition. I wanted to have some kind of really funny ending to the audition, so the guy is like, sort of laughing, and I'm like, wouldn't it be hilarious if I would sort of drift into unconsciousness at the time? So in the audition I was like and the director, who was Debbie Allen from Fame,
Okay.
you want to get famous? Well, here's where you start paying in sweat, right? Debbie Allen. So Debbie Allen's like, oh, the competition's heating up in here. So that was huge getting that, because that was one of my first guest stars.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And so you're a comedian too, is that correct? You do comedy?
I'm a comedic actor, but I don't do stand up. I've tried figuring out how to write jokes, and I just cannot figure it out. Like, I've read books about it, and they're like, here's the setup, and here's the turn, and here's this, and then here's where you think about something funny to say about it. And I'm like, yes, that's the part that's the part I need help with.
See, I
So
think you'd be great if you start just continuing to go after it. Just figure out to write some material, but probably too busy doing auditions and opportunities. Anything else? You said Grace you were known for. What other things before?
Parks and Recreation. I got hired to do just a one-liner on that, and in the course of filming the scene, Amy Poehler started doing an improv with me, and I was like, oh yeah, I do improv, no problem. So I just like kept improving with her, and we went back and forth for about 5 6 minutes, and then finally the director yells cut, and all the cast and crew like bust up laughing, and then the director comes over and she's like, we're going to give you some more lines. And that turned into a 9-line guest star just from that improv. So that was really, really
So that does
cool.
that change things after that opportunity, Parks and Rec? Would you say that really opens up doors after getting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, huge, huge. That's when some of the bigger stuff started to come in. Um, and just recently, I did a guest star on Better Things, and I used this New Orleans accent, which I had never done before.
Give me it. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So there's a special way. Let me tell you briefly the story of how I got the accent. Basically, I went into the audition, and I did like just sort of like a general Southern, and the casting assistant was like from New Orleans, and she's like, okay, what you're doing sounds kind of more Charleston, but if you rock it back into the back of your jaw, it'll be more New Orleans. Try it again. So I tried it like that, and they're like, okay, okay. So then I was leaving the audition, and I saw this guy who like I see it all the auditions, and he usually books it instead of me, right? And I was like, oh, this guy, damn it. And he's got this natural Southern accent. And I was like, hey, where are you living now? And he's like, oh, I'm living in New Orleans. I was like, all right, this is your job. Just go get it. I'm gonna like stop thinking about it because I'm just not. And then they're like, oh, you booked it. I'm like, what? So I totally did not want to half-ass the accent, right? I wanted to really
Right.
nail it.
Exactly.
So I started calling up dialect coaches, and they're like, Uptown Garden District, New Orleans, never heard of it. Try this person. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. I just don't teach it. Try this person. And so I ended up finding a linguist, like a guy with a degree in linguistics. And the way you usually do an accent is the guy who does the accent says, like, this is how you say the first word. This
Right.
is how you say the second word. This is how you say the third word. Okay, now put them all together and memorize that. But this guy was like, okay, I'm going to show you how to hold your mouth and your tongue so
Okay.
that everything you say comes out in that accent.
All
I'm
right.
like, what? So he's like, basically gotta pin the points of your mouth down like this, and then hold your tongue really flat and do the Charleston accent, and then everything comes out like New Orleans. That's it.
That's really good. So when are you gonna audition for that for something else out there?
Right? I gotta
Yeah.
put that, I gotta put that on my resume. New
It's,
Orleans, like
it's got to go on your resume.
right after I did that, they canceled the NCIS New Orleans and some other New Orleans show. And I was like, oh, darn it, I just missed my opportunity. But yeah, I got to put that one on my resume
See,
now.
that accent could be in one of the big shows right now where you got to say, hey, you got to bring a New Orleans person in, and that's it. There you go,
Done.
done.
It was great. On the day of the filming, our stunt coordinator came up to me and he's like, so we're from the South. Where are you, from the South? And I was like, oh no, I was born and raised in Colorado. He's like, no way. I'm from Memphis, and I would swear you're from New Orleans. I was like, all right, that's all I needed to hear.
So they cancel those other New Orleans shows. So you have to think about what one, the History Channel, they got to need you for a voice like that.
Someone's got to
A
need this
Civil
Uptown
War
Garden
reenactment
District.
type of movie coming out, whatever. You do.
Something, anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So any other after that? What would you say? Other things you've had some opportunities, and then we're going to Being the Ricardos because you've been acting for years.
That's right. I have. One of the very first things I did was Monk, and
Okay.
I absolutely loved that show. I mean, I watched it religiously, and my wife and I were like so into it that when I got on the show, I was like, hey, you guys, I noticed that you said this thing about his ex-wife or about his deceased wife in season 1, but then you said this other thing in season 2, which is kind of contradictory. So, which is it? And the director of the show goes, hey, Tony, this guy's an expert on the show. What do you think? And Tony's like, it's both. And I was like, okay. So like basically they hadn't even thought about this. And it was only because I was like so into it that they're like, all right, let's figure it out now. But that was amazing. That I absolutely loved getting to work with Tony Shalhoub and Trailer Howard. I mean, they were both like super, super cool. That was one of the very first jobs I did. The OC, got to work with one of my heroes, Peter Gallagher. He's so fun to work with. He was super nice. We were shooting this night shoot in the rain where basically they wrecked in the rain, and I'm this trucker who comes along and I'm like, hey, you guys all right? I'm like shouting through the rain. And so they had brought out the rain machines and stuff, and they're like, make sure you dress in warm clothing because you're going to be soaked all night. And the main cast had like wetsuits underneath their clothes and stuff. But man, that was fun. That was super fun. Yeah, I've had a bunch of really great experiences.
You got to meet awesome people, and it's just starting. So let's talk about Being the Ricardos. First, tell us the premise of the movie without giving away. But I mean, so great. And then tell me about your character.
So it covers the I Love Lucy show from a Monday table read to the Friday taping. And as Aaron Sor. I'm going to quote Aaron Sorkin here. He says that the Lucy's pregnant at a time when you're not supposed to have a pregnant woman on TV, and she's accused of being a communist.
Yes.
And there's also rumors about Desi Arnaz's infidelity. So, in addition to all of the stressors of putting on a show and making sure it's the best that it can be, and dealing with all the egos and everything of all the other actors and the director and producers and all that, then you have these major life things as well. So, my character, Roger Otter, is that of a cigarette executive. See, the Philip Morris Company was the sponsor of the show. And so I'm the Philip Morris executive who tells them, like, hey, you can do this, but you can't do that. And you'll have to see the movie to see how well that goes for me.
So you got to just say this was so well done in the way that taking you through that, because not everyone knows about the whole communist thing. And it really speaks to now where people are being called out as an anti-vaxxer or, or certain things, a conservative, or, or called out as a communist or a socialist. So this process that happened in this movie could ruin someone's career today, AKA Joe Rogan having that one person and then they canceled Joe Rogan. So it's not really changed that much, has it?
Right. It's like that cancel culture that everyone's in fear of. So they, each one of these could have spelled absolute doom for them, but especially the communists. I mean, all that there had to be was a rumor that you could be a communist and you could be instantaneously blacklisted.
Yep.
Just like you're saying today with the cancel culture. So yeah, it's interesting how that hasn't really changed.
I think it's gotten a lot worse because of social media and everything. I don't think that the show would have been able to pull it off today if there was something so bigger than
salacious. Yes,
it would not. It would have been over. So, for example,
I think you may be right. I think you may be right. The only thing that really saved them was the brilliance and determination of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. So
Desi saved by getting into that last moment for sure.
Yeah, my bet would be on them though, even if they were to encounter something like this today. They were so smart and so good and so daring in their solutions that my money would be on them still.
And I think, as I talked to you off air, this should not just be a movie. It should be a TV series that you can really go back 3 years.
I would love that,
because there's just so many stories that could be told about Lucy and Desi and different.
I think it's a terrific idea. I think that we should you and I should absolutely go to Amazon and be like, we've got this brilliant idea to make it into movies.
I'm cool. I'm there for sure. And so I hope
with you and me as EPs.
I like that. And so the thing is, I see this opportunity that you just had as another big opportunity that the next show, because again, they have to create a show about a Louisianan from the
Uptown Garden District.
Yes, that is a truck driver by day, and I don't know. You come up with something, and it'll work.
Sounds good. And we'll pitch it
because your accent is so good.
Thank you.
I was saying you should be written in for the Gilded Age. Some Louisiana guy comes up to New York. I don't know. I gotta even know the history, and is definitely not treated well in the Gilded Age. I don't know if you've gotten to watch the show on HBO. It's unbelievable.
This sounds perfect. You should be my agent. You're fantastic.
You know what? You know my number. You give me the drill. I know how to pick up things. I know how to promote people. I know how to do things, and that's the big thing: is promote, tell people what they're great at, and that's it. But I see something. But you can create a show, but you can write yourself in as this Louisiana character everywhere. TV shows, because you have to really create this character more. Start thinking about it. The persona completely, what they eat, how they do, and just live that character acting. And then someone's going to say, we need someone from Louisiana. Your agent's going to find it. And there you go. I love that, but I also want you to get on stage and do stand up. If I know one of my colleagues did stand up, there's no reason you can't because you're funny. You're really funny. So
Thanks, man. Appreciate you saying that.
I think you should really think about that. I think you should say, you know what, that's going to be on my wish list. I got to come up and write some material. Maybe the Louisiana guy is going to be the perfect first joke.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend, Renee Percy, who's a professional comedian, and she teaches a class. I've been thinking about taking her class. Yeah,
You have to, because you're funny. You're funny. You do that. So where can we connect with you, Jeff? Again, Being the Recorder is available right now on Amazon. Any other projects right now you want to promote? Or is it
Yes, Yellow Jackets. I have a recurring role in Yellow Jackets. I don't know if you've seen that show on Showtime.
No, I have not.
Ooh, man, it's super intense. So the log line is that a group of high school soccer elite players, a girls soccer team, is on their way to state championships, and they're the unlucky survivors of a plane crash in the remote northern wilderness. And it's about them surviving and before they're eventually rescued. And then, of course, 25 years later, their characters now still trying to put their lives back together. It's really, really cool. And in that one, I play the character of Randy Walsh, who is the best friend of Jeff Sadecki, who's married to the lead in the show, Shauna, played by Melanie Linsky. Melanie Linsky, by the way, is fantastic.
Is this season one of the Yellow Jackets?
Actor.
Is this season?
That's right.
One? So when is that going on Netflix? Because you know I'm going to be watching when it happens, or wherever.
Well, so it was on Showtime, and they just finished the end of the season just a couple weeks ago. So you can check that out on Showtime on demand.
But at one point could be picked up by one of the.
Absolutely.
Probably Amazon, right? They do a lot.
That's what I would think.
That's
yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah, probably.
All right, where can we follow you and stuff, Jeff? Where's the best place on social media to find you?
Jeff Holman Official is my Instagram handle. That's the best way to keep in touch. And then I'm also going to be in a show called Minx, and that'll be in March. And that's a show on HBO Max about a young feminist who gets together with a low-rent publisher to create the first women's erotic magazine.
And that's only gonna be on HBO Max, not just the HBO channels too. Are they gonna play it too?
I think so. I think so. It's for HBO Max, but I think you'll be able to watch on HBO as well.
I hope you can watch it on HBO, because I will be watching it, and I'll be letting you know, Jeff, what I think for sure. And we appreciate you stopping by. But I'm waiting on that New Orleans character. Live it out, definitely, and appreciate you coming by.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show here on the Total Celebrity segment, and I'm excited to welcome to the program again somebody that I learned so much in my media career, listened to him in the morning for years, and again, a great NFL player as well, great NFL analyst, and much, much more. Mike Golic. Mike, thanks for stopping by. And you're tackling diabetes, and what a great mission. Everybody has to have that kind of mission in their lives to do that. And joining us also is Hope Warshaw. She's an education specialist that's going to educate us all about diabetes as well. Thanks again, Mike, for stopping by, and Hope for stopping by. How are you guys?
Doing well, Neil. Thanks.
All right, Mike. So tell me specifically enough why this means so much to you to tackle diabetes. What is the
yeah, listen, this became a lifestyle for me when I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed about 10 years after I was done playing. Now, my father was diagnosed as well, so I knew that there was a possibility, because it was in the family, that this would happen. But still, I had to now decide, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to live this new lifestyle after a lifestyle of being an athlete and eating whatever I wanted and working out all the time and knowing I could get away with things? Now I had to change that. So, with the help of my wife, I do everything around sports and team sports. So I knew I needed a game plan. It was, getting a doctor as my coach. My wife was my teammate, and I brought in others as well to help me, but it was still a learning process. And one of the big things I learned, Neil, was Everybody deals with it differently. 34 million people deal with type 2 diabetes. That's 485 filled football stadiums of people. And everybody deals with it differently. How I deal with it, others deal with it differently. That's why I really wanted to get involved, and I really enjoyed talking to some other former professional athletes like Kyle Love in football and John Kruk in baseball about their individual journey. Again, and this is all part of the Talking Type U campaign that I'm very, very happy to be a part of, because it's not just athletes, it's everybody outside the world of sports, in the world of sports, who's dealing with this. It's their own individual journey that they have to go on.
So when Mike got diagnosed, Hope, and you think about this, how do other people kind of see those warning signs that, you know what, I need to get tested to see, you know, if I have this, especially, and, you know, like as a former athlete myself, like I understand exactly what we go through, because specifically enough, we have to put on a certain amount of weight. I was a former professional wrestler and different things, and I'd have to eat, really work looking at dietitians, looking at how much weight we could put on, right? How we could keep the weight on, and it didn't matter. It could be beer and pizza. So you don't really look at specifically what you're eating when you're really young, and then it could be a certain thing. So what are those warning signs, Hope?
Right. So you asked about warning signs.
Yes.
The reality is, with type 2 diabetes, people often don't have warning signs like they might with type 1 diabetes. So it's really important that through the years, people get screened and checked for having elevated glucose levels.
So there's no real symptoms a lot of times.
No, not necessarily. It's not necessarily that sort of tiredness and frequently urinating that it is with type 1 diabetes. But what is critically important is that people do get checked. And if you learn that you do have diabetes, that you start taking care of it and taking action from day one. And sort of key critical elements of an action plan are healthy eating, and you alluded to that, physical activity for sure, even if it's just a walking program. A lot of people with diabetes type 2 need to be taking medication, and then the overarching monitoring with a glucose meter, what is going on day to day, and then using that data that you collect. And typically today, people are using technology to gather that data and then using it to analyze what's working in your plan well and what isn't working well, and then making tweaks to change that. And also, diabetes evolves over the years. What you do on year 1 of having type 2 diabetes is not necessarily what you need to be doing at year 10, year 15 of having diabetes.
All right, so let's kind of jump, Mike, into what you did. How did you change your lifestyle and everything once getting diagnosed? Mm-hmm.
Well, and to go back really quick, what's important is to say, how do you know, is to get the checkups. Get at least yearly checkups. It's something I have always done, and that's how I found out. You know, sometimes, especially guys, as we know, we don't want to go if I feel fine, I don't need to see a doctor. Well, getting those annual checkups at least is going to help without question. And for me, it was very basic for me. Okay, I knew I had to change. You know, again, it wasn't a diet, it was a lifestyle of how I was going to eat and what I was going to go through and how I was going to deal with nutrition and sleep and hydration and exercise. So what I did, Neil, quite honestly, I jumped into modern technology. And with One Touch Solutions, they have customized programs that you can use, say through Fitbit, if I wear Fitbit all the time, Noom, WellDoc, Cecilia Health, and all the information that Hope was talking about, especially through my One Touch glucose meter, goes into these different programs. And I feed those programs information, and they kick me back what I'm doing and what I need to do. You know, either AI information, or I can actually chat with someone like Hope live with some of these programs to ask questions and get answers. So the big thing to me is use the help around you. You don't have to do this alone. There are so many ways to help, so many programs, especially the One Touch Solution has, to help you on this journey, because it's very difficult to do alone.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And Hope, I guess that's the thing, is once people get diagnosed, then sometimes they feel like their life is going to change dramatically. And it's really just a lifestyle change, but people like you, Hope, help through that process, right?
We do. So I'm a certified diabetes care and education specialist, and I really encourage people to seek us out because we're able to give you the skills and give you the know-how to manage your diabetes on your own. It really needs to integrate into your lifestyle. So people should be very comfortable advocating for themselves with their healthcare providers to say, well, this is something I feel like I can do. That's something that I feel like I'm not ever going to do. And because that's how you get, as Mike calls it, a game plan that's going to work for you. And it needs to evolve over time.
Mindset's another thing, Mike, right? Especially once you start changing your diet, right? It's how do you, we all know we're up late at night. There's certain, food commercials on now. It's much easier now by just ordering. You can order anytime you want and food comes to your door. How do you keep that willpower going?
Well, a support group, be it your wife. I was very open with my wife and my kids about this. My dad had it in an era where they kind of kept it private, and that was his choice. And I'm not, criticizing that at all. I was very open about it. So again, the more help you can get, in the house. My wife put a lot of clean food in the house. Work out. We work out together. Who do you work out with? Who do you, interactions in your daily life with that can help along the way? I think the people that try and do it alone, unless you have unbelievable willpower, and I'm sure there are those that do, that can do it. But other than that, seek out the help, because there are those temptations. And you know what? Every now and then it's okay to give into them. I'm an 85-15 guy, 85 good, 15 bad. I still do it. I'm not going to sit here and say I never eat something that I shouldn't. I do. But through all these programs now, I learn when I can have that. And if I have it, then what I need to do after I have something like that to get back to where I need. The biggest thing to me, and that's why I associate it with sports, is I come from a team sports. Have that team around you, from family to friends to healthcare professionals to doctors, whatever, whoever you need in your life to help keep you on the right path.
Do you think during the career of an NFL player, even, when you see certain players that we're going to call them these because they're unbelievable athletes, that they could at one point have this? Again, you get the NFL doctors all the time, but once you retire, do you reach out to retired players at times and say, hey, are you really still focusing on your health and things like that and try to be that advocate?
So through the NFLPA, actually, I have spoken and done videos for ball players in obesity afterward, because it is what happens. Listen, I've been working out since 10 years old. I retired from football at 32. It's a lot of years of working out, eating whatever I wanted, drinking whatever I wanted, because I knew I was going to work it off. To when you're done, you don't do those things anymore, but you keep eating. All of a sudden your weight goes up. So we're really starting to get involved in programs now for former athletes about that, and about obesity, and about right when you're done, you live that itinerary life. Now you have to do it on your own. So again, I encourage, use the people around you to get in the right habit. And the great thing about playing ball, you get a checkup every year. So you know what's going on with your body, and you need to continue that when you're done playing. And this is, again, true for people outside of sports as well, is to be monitored to know where you stand.
So Mike, best place that we can connect with Hope and yourself and learn more about what's going on. Where's the best place to go?
TalkingTypeU.com is the place to go. That way you can hear the interviews that I did with some of the former professional athletes. You have a chance in some sweepstakes to win some healthcare equipment like home gym equipment, things like that. But TalkingTypeU.com is a great, great place to go to get some great information.
We're back to the Neil Haley Show. And, when we talk about specifically enough exciting shows, and I never thought that we'd be talking reality show, HBO Max with somebody, and it's kind of interesting because of the fact is it's a reality show, and usually reality shows are not meant for actors, but I'm excited to welcome to the program actor Brooke Lusk. Brooke, thanks for stopping by. How are you? And we're going to talk about the 12 dates of Christmas, talk about some of the other projects you're having, your career. I appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm so excited to be here and dive into the 12 dates gossip.
Yes, well, it's time. We got to always have that reality and look at the reality of what we're dealing with with COVID. I can't believe we're saying this again in 2021, about to end, and we're in another craziness. And that's, you know, it is what it is. I guess we're living in times that we can tell people someday these were seriously the times we were living in, and then we'll be an interplanetary species by that point in time, and we'll be all over and people will be in Mars and everything when we're telling our grandkids that stuff. Okay, so let's kind of just jump right specifically into, do you always want to be an actor? Is that something you grew up wanting to do?
No, I mean, I kind of figured that out in like my late teens. I was a very athletic, very tomboy kind of girl growing up, and played soccer for most of my childhood. And that was my life. And I kind of fell into the entertainment world, and I fell into entertainment journalism first. So I would actually do a lot of press junkets and red carpet interviews and go to these screenings. And I remember sitting there at the screenings watching these movies. And then when I would talk to these celebrities about their movies after I would watch it, something just didn't really sit right with me. And being so young, I wasn't sure what, until I was about 19. And I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. I don't want to be interviewing these filmmakers. I want to be the filmmaker. So at 19, I kind of had a revelation, dropped out of the community college I was going to study journalism, and just moved to LA and started from scratch and started pursuing film.
Well, you have an entrepreneurial mindset. You talk about, you know, filmmaker, and I want to get into that more. But when you talk about specifically enough, you were interviewing celebrities and doing certain things. What were you doing? Did you have your own press, or were you working for other people at that age? Yeah.
I was other people. I won a competition at the age of 12 to go interview the stars of Shrek the Third. So at 12 years old, I was interviewing legends, Mike Myers, Julie Andrews, Cameron Diaz, Joe Banderas. Like, I'm pretty sure I have tunnel vision from it all, and the only memories I have are like on footage.
Right.
Because it was so overwhelming but so cool. And that's what I was doing. I was kind of shadowing the entertainment journalist that took me under his wing after I won this competition. And he would send me out as his junior teen or junior kid reporter. So I would go do all these kid movie press junkets, and met tons of celebrities, tons of directors, tons of producers, and just got to talk to them. And that's what kind of fed that entertainment film bug. And yeah, I mean, just enlightened me to this whole world.
And you learned exactly that you liked being on camera, or you liked being a journalist. You liked being a celebrity in some sorts, because anyone who interviews celebrities becomes the celebrity themselves in a way. Right. They're celebrating, you know, and so you saw this, said, why can't I do this? I want to be, and you brought up filmmaker. So, you know, we're talking about two things that you're acting in, and one is a reality show and one's acting. And so we're going to talk about your latest projects, but you're saying filmmaker. This is intrigues me, because you have to be a jack of all trades in Hollywood today. Unless you're one of the top 7 earners, the bottom line is you have to keep finding work. And sometimes it's creating your own work. So when you talk about filmmaker, did you go to school for filmmaking after that fact, or did you kind of just go on your own and figure it out once you moved to Hollywood?
A little bit of half and half. I got a scholarship for a film academy, but I ended up not going. And I went to kind of just like private classes, and that was my kind of foundation. Also, the reason I didn't go to this academy was because they said I could not be on set while attending this school. And I was already booking jobs as a script supervisor and as an actor. So I was already learning hands-on on set. And in my head, I was like, it's better to just get that real experience than pay a tuition and have someone teach me their ways. And I'm really glad I did that. And like I said, I went to I would do online trainings, I would read books, I would go to private classes. So I kind of just did it my own way, and it's worked out for me. And I had mentors that would take me under their wing, which I think is also a very popular route. A lot of people I know have gone under and found like a mentor.
How difficult is it to create a film? One of the companies I'm soon going to become CMO, I am CMO of, is Halley's Comet. And so we're going into the space industry. So it's really exciting. We're really seeing space as the final thing. Even though I'm an entrepreneur that has my own business as well, I'm going to be the chief marketing officer for the company and announcing that soon. So I guess I'm kind of announcing it now. But in this process, what I've learned is that when we're talking to creatives and things like that, creating just a commercial, which you were talking about, you've been involved in, it's very expensive. You people try to do it themselves. You see it all the time on YouTube, and you see it all the time as podcasters. But when you're talking high level filmmaking, it's expensive, right? How much
Yeah.
would it cost just to do a short film? And we're not talking the main film. What are the costs involved in something like that?
I just shot a short film, and I think it was 12 pages, and we shot it in 3 days. And I want to say the budget was 5 figures. I don't know the exact number,
Mhm.
but it was actually a really great team. We had a skeleton crew. A skeleton crew is just like every department just has the minimum amount of people. And yeah, I mean, I when I was naive and so green in this industry, I had no idea what it took. And I started out as an actress, kind of fell into script supervising, and I'm so grateful I did, because that put the production world in a whole different light. I mean, when people say it takes a village to make a movie, and then you see that cast credits at the end of a movie, I mean, I feel like, at least speaking for myself, I would take that for granted. And now I just look and I'm like, I know all these people, or I know most of these people. But yeah, I mean, it's so expensive. The camera lenses itself are probably individually more expensive than my car. Like, and
Really?
then the lenses, I mean, if you're shooting on a big,
So it's BS when you're a YouTuber or certain things. And you're giving me tips right now, because again,
yeah,
I'm getting thrown this. I've been in this industry forever, and I'll do the Canva deal, I'll do iMovie and all that, and shoot with an iPhone.
yeah.
But what the kind of company I'm going into now, we're looking cinematic, we're looking at all these different things. Can you really shoot with an iPhone and be able to have good quality film? Let's just talk for a commercial or specific things as a YouTuber or vlogger or anything. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a feature film, Unsane, with Claire Voigt, was shot on an iPhone.
Really?
So yeah, it's definitely doable. The technology with phones, especially iPhones, and the lenses on like the 11 Pro with the three lenses on the phone, it's definitely doable. And then you have devices like a gimbal for like a steady cam. Definitely doable. I mean, yeah, I feel like commercials are being shot on phones all the time.
Then when you're looking at cinematic and the top-notch stuff, the stuff that involves all these different things, the Super Bowl commercials, different things, where do they go? They're probably like $100,000 to shoot, right? Or more.
More, yeah.
Or more.
Commercial budgets, the commercials I've worked on, like Ulta Beauty or Banana Republic shoots, those budgets are insane. Commercial budgets are way higher than right now I'm working on like indie films as production and script supervisor. 6 figures, which is still a lot, but like commercial money is insane.
And it's all about the creative and the story and things. And this is, I think that what I kind of compare what indie films is what podcasting has become, and compared to regular. So you go to indie films compared to the big boys in film, right? And then you look at radio and the big top dogs, and then podcasting the gap is starting to not be so wide, meaning that there's money to be made in indie films. There's money to be made in podcasting, but only a few. Joe Rogan to name in podcasting. And I'm sure there's some indie film people that have really made some huge money off one big shot, and then it didn't become an indie film after that fact. So it's that thing. So I'm interested in your filmmaking because it interests me, because is that going to be your passion, even though you're going to act, because we all have to do our passion, and we're going to have to shoot commercials, different things. If you chose, would it be filmmaking?
Yeah, filmmaking, absolutely. And like I said, I'm so glad I fell into the production side of things, because being a celebrity and like the fame truly isn't that appealing to me.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Isn't that weird? Why is it certain makeups are different for people, right? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be even bigger. Yeah, I'm not a celebrity at all, in my opinion, but I mean, I'm getting to that influence side. I'm only a few steps away, and I was a former professional wrestler, so I was only a few steps away before The Rock wore my knee pads when I was a professional wrestler. Before he made it. So
Yeah.
I just show my age. I'm 48. But what I'm saying is that basically that some people, it fuels them. They want to be the paparazzi. They want this. It seems like you want to be behind the camera. And that's interesting, and be the creative. And that's fun too. I enjoyed as well in that, and then just, being on camera. I'd like to just produce podcasts and create ideas. As one of my top skills is idea, because ideation. And I took a test, is really cool. It's called a talent test with Gallup, and I got my 5 talents. My number 1 is ideation, which I thought it was going to be communication. That's number 5, but ideation is coming with an idea very quickly and be able to strategize it from big to small, and then strategy is my strategic is my second skill. So when I think about things, I enjoy the behind the camera as well. I enjoy the effects of creating something for somebody else. Why is it more? So let's just say you get an opportunity. Look, you have a great film we're going to talk about soon. What if you do get an opportunity that you become Emmy nominated or Academy? Is that going to push you towards that level, or are you going to constantly strive for this filmmaking? That's so let's just say something happens, and I know everyone gets this one big shot to get on this one big show they never thought was going to happen, and it goes viral and it becomes the biggest thing. Would you still have that mindset to be the filmmaker before that? Good question, because you never know what could happen, Brooke.
That is a great question. I feel like acting is also a part of filmmaking, and I would jump at the opportunity. Diving into like a big character is a dream of mine. Acting is a dream of mine.
Yes.
Something like Squid Games or Queen's Gambit, where it's an amazing story. It's an amazing opportunity to become this character and do these amazing characterizations. I would love to do that. I guess what I was trying to say was, like, I'm not in it for like the fame or the celebrity.
You're in it because you love doing it. You love performing. You love the camera. You love the ability to be part of the creative and understand this industry. That's what I see for you.
Yes. And I can literally talk to you about this all day long. I would feel incomplete if I was not in this industry, and just movies all around make me so happy.
Exactly. And that's
Yeah.
great. You're finding your passion. Like, I love to perform. I love to perform in podcasting, speaking, going on social audio for Clubhouse, especially, and all these different places. This is what really makes me excited. It doesn't make me excited when I'm building a website. It doesn't make me excited when I'm doing social media for clients. That's just that, hey, that's the way to pay the bills, but that's all that to build that entrepreneurship and managing people. I'd much rather perform all the time. I wish I was Joe Rogan, right? 100,
Right.
whatever he's getting paid just to do this all day long. Because you could see it's a natural thing for me.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'm delving in more that it's just the industry. You're not doing it for the fame. I don't know if you saw Britney Spears, Conservator, the whole documentary. It's so sad what happened to her and everything. And she loves performing, and you see her love, and she basically was used in so many ways. So she didn't want the paparazzi, she didn't want all that stuff, but she wanted to do it because she loved the industry. Some people are living for fame, other people are living for, hey, I want to be someday to pick up this Academy Award because I truly did something creative. I was part of an amazing story. I was part of this, and that's why I'm in the industry. And I think that's what you're trying to say, Brooke. All right.
Exactly. If I eventually get a big platform, I will use that to my best ability. I think the one thing that this generation has in the filmmaking industry is they need these actors to have a big following now. And that's kind of put like a bitter taste in my mouth, because I'm like, I don't want people to choose actors based on their
social media profile. Isn't that crazy? And so that's, yeah, go ahead. Because it's so fake. It can be fixed so much. And there's services. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry about that.
Right. No, yeah. I would rather someone be picked on their talent and 500 followers based on, but I understand that that's free press, and having a big following is good for filmmaking. It's just, that's the day and age we're in. So it's kind of almost like we're forced into that platform of fame and celebrity, and like pushing ourselves and posting every day and hitting that algorithm. But yeah, that's not what it's about for me. I
So
love
that's really happening because you start to see, and then you see the fakeness. If you get a big show, they give you verified and you get all these fake followers on Twitter, right? You know that, and I know that didn't just come out of nowhere. They came from somewhere else. An agency went and gave them all those followers. They weren't really truly a tribe. And I think, Brooke, that this is, if you're an actor and you're looking to try to get more gigs based on your following, build a tribe based on who truly you are and build a community. Don't go build a bunch of fake things that they offer all the time for IG and all that stuff, because I bet you they can tell, right? They want you to have a fan following that they're interested in you. How do this is so interesting. I didn't think we'd go this direction. Then we're going to get right into 12 Dates of Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't, because this is my passion, understanding these things. So when they evaluate your algorithm and all these different things, are they able to tell real from fake, a lot of these directors, or not, or these casting people? Because and I know that a lot of this Instagram's fake. A lot of this is not really developed. You really don't have a fan base. You have a fake base that, yes,
Right.
you might have either paid for, you might have gotten kind of fake followers or fake engagement that really would not buy your stuff. How's Hollywood, or even, any of the communities, because they're clueless in marketing, to really understand what's happening? Have you seen that at all, or had those conversations?
A little bit. I think the telltale sign is if you have a high following and your likes and your comments and engagement doesn't really match. It's pretty blatant. Like, anyone can see how many likes you're getting and comments you're getting. And if you have like 20,000 followers and you're getting kind of like 400, 500 likes, it might not add up. So I think that's the telltale sign. But other than that, I'm not sure how to evaluate. Like,
Isn't that terrible? Because guess what? There are services you can buy to get all these likes and comments and stuff like that, and they're all bogus. And then guess what? You're paying for it, and they're not real people, and you have to dive deeper. And if people don't understand that, it's like, I rather have a engaged audience, and when I build for clients, of 40 or 50 likes for a post that they're really their tribe that they're building, versus, and not the tribe, not people that you're really interacting to, that want to know who you are, want to see your next films. And that's where, I guess, the age that we're in, we can't figure out yet. Right.
Right.
And so but it's good. And you bring all those things up. And I'm sure if you were looking to fund a film, they'd say, well, of the people you have, what are their followers? Right. Isn't that crazy? And that's where we've gone. It's nuts for sure. Okay. So let's talk 12 Dates of Christmas. Wow. Okay. You put yourself out there, Brooke.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yes.
I mean, come on. Okay. So tell us the premise of it. And it's real. It's reality. Hint, we all know, The Bachelor, Bachelorette, a little, not completely reality, but you put yourself out there, really.
I did. Yeah. Unscripted show 12 Dates of Christmas has 3 leads. There's a straight male lead who I was in his pod. That was Danny. There was a lesbian lead, Amanda. And then there was a gay lead who was Markel. There was a twist in the gay pod, which I don't know if I want to say because it's not Christmas yet. I don't want to plot spoil. It's a really good twist midway through the season. It actually happens before I even come on the show. So I didn't know about it until I was on the show and the cast was telling me about it. So I was there for Danny, and I came in on episode 5, and you get to see my journey. I want to I don't know if you want me to plot spoil. I don't know.
No, don't plot spoil at all. Just what about, so basically you coming on. So this is real, right? You're going on a date, right? This is not fake.
Yeah, no, not fake at all. It was there. I went there for a connection. My talent manager was actually approached about this show, and we talked about it because I am an actress and I had just got a really messy breakup. And I was like, you know what, Tal, I think I just want to do it for myself. And I do want to go and see if it works out. And speaking of the COVID day and age, we all had to quarantine for weeks before filming. And I'm really glad I had that quarantine time, because I overthought everything, every outcome. Am I going to meet my husband? Am I going to meet my boyfriend? What's going to happen? And by the end of quarantine, I went into the lodge with no expectations. And I think that was the best thing I ever could have done for myself, because I truly went in having fun and authentic me. And I did build a connection with someone.
So, and so we have to find out. We don't want to spoil it. See, there you go. I'm going to be doing my own producing and directing. We've had this. No, don't get promotion. Everyone needs to tune in. And then I want to talk about the film, because again, that's where we find you, and this is your biggest about the film, let's first of all, really quickly, where can people check out when your episode's coming out for 12 Dates of Christmas? When is that coming out?
So all of the episodes dropped on Thanksgiving Day. All of the episodes are out on HBO Max. There are 9 episodes, and definitely binge watch the whole season. I don't come in until halfway through. I am on season 2. I've had a lot of like friends from high school in the past be like, I watched all of season 1. Where are you? And I was like, I'm on season 2. So there are 2 seasons. I'm on season 2.
All right, we'll definitely have to check it out. Now, let's talk about the film. When is that coming out? And I don't want to mispronunciate the second part of it. Is it American Sicario? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So then that's pretty cool. That's a huge op. Is that like one of your biggest breaks so far in acting, this opportunity?
Yes. Yeah. I actually filmed this before 12 Dates of Christmas. I was in the casting process for 12 Dates of Christmas when I was filming this. And it's starring Danny Trejo, Felipe Haddad. I don't want to butcher his last name. Felipe Haddad. He's the star of the film, and Maurice Comte, who is my cartel boyfriend in the film. It's very different from 12 Dates. It's drugs, cartels, guns, killings, and then 12 Dates is just this magical fairy tale Christmas wonderland. So I'm giving you both sides of me.
No, exactly. So how did you prepare for that? So like other acting opportunities, your current character. So tell us about your character, first of all. And it's a little bit more about the character without giving things away. And then explain, have you had any roles like this ever before in acting?
I have not had another role like this in acting before. I've actually been murdered a lot in roles. I love horror, so this is great for me. I've been covered in blood tons of times, and it's so fulfilling for me. But yeah, I mean, it was a small supporting role, and I was just one of the cartel leaders' girlfriends, just kind of arm candy. I got to speak Spanish in the film, and it's insinuated that I do drugs. I did do a scene. I filmed a scene on a yacht where I did blow. I snorted some blow, and it's not real cocaine. It was B12 powder, and it actually hurt. So in case you don't do that, but that's what they usually use in movies for fake cocaine. It's B12. That was actually cut out of the movie, so I'm sure my mom and dad are pretty happy about that. But yeah, I mean, I was just the typical cartel party girl with the rich cartel boyfriend.
Okay. So, and when does that film come out?
That came out on December 10th. And
Oh,
if you
it's
follow,
already out. Where is that available everywhere now, or the film?
it's
Or
available on Amazon Prime and select theaters across the nation.
okay, so it's available on Amazon Prime as a purchase film, right? Correct.
Yes.
Okay, because I have Amazon Prime, but I definitely want to see the film. It definitely seems like it. I'll have to add that to my viewing list of movies I've been watching. And what horror movies have you been in that you've been killed in that people might know of?
I was in Dyer Lane, which we shot a sizzle reel, 7 years ago. That sizzle reel was to get a budget. It never got a budget, so that feature film was never created, but I got an axe in my head on that one. Just casually saying these things. I was in Fear Farm 2, where I got impaled I fell in this ditch and I got impaled by rhubarb through the mouth. And that was cool because the prosthetic was like 5 stacks of cinnamon sticks it was a candy, and they put it in my mouth, and then they just poured edible blood in my mouth. I was just sitting there with metal under my chin and just like bleeding out. It was really cool. And it was freezing that night, but it was so fun.
So, and you're enjoying the time. It's great that you had that opportunity, and really they did a great job of putting you in the IMDb write-up and stuff. So people need to definitely check out American Sicario, now available on Amazon Prime and everywhere. And the best place people can follow you, because guess what? That's the big thing, right? The follow. What social media platform are you putting most of your time into? Because you know what? I'm starting to more and more be this LinkedIn person, which is crazy. I have a decent following on Instagram. I have a huge following on Twitter. I'm all over the place at Facebook. I'm trying to be omnipresent as best I can. So what about you? Where's the best place?
Best place is Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is just my first and last name, Brooke Lusk, and TikTok is same thing, Brooke Lusk, but the number 5 afterwards. On TikTok, I actually have a way bigger following, and I talk about horror movies because it's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. Yeah.